the lives of children and their families. Learn more at childfund.org.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. However you're doing it, you can, of course, get to us on the show. We mentioned those social pages because that's one of the better ways to leave your commentary throughout both hours of the program, as we are on 4 to 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. We also got a lot on the docket for you here today. Wanting to touch on, of course, those state-level gun law and school safety issues that just got pushed a little bit off the docket yesterday, so we'll definitely delve into that here today, plus some things that may or may not actually affect our area at all if you want to look at the actual analysis of it. We haven't talked much about the Summit of the Americas that kind of faded into the background of a lot of the issues going on last week, but wanting to delve into a little bit on what the sum total declarative statement at the end of it is technically signed on to by many of the participating countries, but what it'll actually mean in terms of border safety, security, those kind of things. Well, we'll delve into that as well, and even some more localized things. El Paso Water responding to quote-unquote misleading claims that they're saying coming from the New Mexico Environment Department's claims about the sewage discharge, even as there are also more requests from the New Mexico government to deal with how the federal government is doing migrant transports in the wake of the wildfires going on there. So, yeah, not that border issues ever truly go away in what we cover, but they do, no pun intended, blaze back off often enough here. So we'll certainly talk about all those things. So if you wanted to tune in, chime in, let us know what you think about the show. Again, over on the social media is one of the better ways to do so. If you want to leave your comment there, also make sure to hit that bell so you're notified whenever we go live, just over on the video itself here. But however you're tuning in, we're locked in for the show here today. So let's get into it, as I totally promised to yesterday, and we super didn't, as we also have Flaca Jimenez dropping that like. We do appreciate that, as it helps us with all of the things that we intend to do as being on these platforms, being out there more available in the community here. So what Governor Greg Abbott has said, essentially, that he is happy with the initial legislative proposals coming out, of course, of the Texas legislature when it comes to school safety, even as the town of Uvalde is seeing some more federal grants coming in. The governor has been announcing a lot of more state-level funds going there as well, but now more federal ones. So top line, what Governor Abbott has been saying as of this week is that he's happy with some of the initial proposals that have been coming out on school safety, that they have some of the legislative leaders who, you may recall, we talked about charging both the House and the Senate to create committees based on, coming up with recommendations for the school safety and other related issues, saying that he likes the idea so far on mental health support, help for law enforcement, and protecting schools, and he thinks it's a good start. But there's still no clear word on if he will end up calling a special session. So what exactly are some of these proposals? Specifically, among other things, we're talking about leadership of the Senate with Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and in the House side of things with House Speaker Dade Phelan. The House specifically looking at Dade Phelan proposing more than $100 million to be spent on mental health and school safety programs. That the headline from the Texas Tribune on this. Also asking for money for mental health and school safety programs. Well, over on the Senate side, a little bit more on arming school police officers with bulletproof shields, among other things. So some of those initial ones, again, Dade Phelan, $50 million request from Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Again, bulletproof shields, which is an interesting, and also Phelan says that he supports the same kind of an idea. What exactly that'll look like, I'm aware of a few different kinds of possibilities that could look with. There are some more recently produced, almost origami-looking things that could stop, for the most part, handgun-level calibers, as far as I'm aware. Getting a little bit deep in the weeds there, I know, but more on that, again, when it comes to some of the specific programs being talked about here. Again, the mental health support is an interesting one, particularly when it comes to in the school levels. I mean, it's been a while since I've been in high school myself, but the actual way that was dealt with was, well, essentially the school calendars. I am counselors, if I didn't say that right. And I'm not sure that a lot of them were necessarily, not a dig against them, but qualified to really be dealing with mental health issues. I guess it kind of feels like the school nurse, who may be very qualified in their own right to deal with regular health issues, but they can't do much more for you in that setting than maybe recommend something else and maybe give you some ibuprofen. I feel like it's kind of analog to military health care, clean socks and drink water and ibuprofen there. That may not be a totally fair analogy, but what comes to mind for me, at least for my experience, or the way that they have to then monitor your medications, even if it's an inhaler. And thankfully, I didn't have that issue. But if you want a rescue inhaler, you better be able to book it quickly over to the nurse's office. In any case, some of these things also, of course, a lot of money being talked about here. Some more of the other ones, including $37.5 million for the Texas Child Health Access through Telemedicine Program, $10.5 million for a pediatric crisis stabilization and response team to be set up there, about $500,000 for multisystemic therapy, and a lot of other interesting sounding phrases, including coordinated specialty care, expanding the amount of pediatric mental health beds across the state there. So a lot of the initial proposals, but of course, a lot of this comes down to what will actually happen for it. The timeline here is more or less important, I would say, because we do have the legislative session as is regularly planned. I know it just feels, or at least for me anyway, that we just finished the last legislative sessions, the kind of never-ending ones that we saw in 2021. But as we're going to get into next year, that is the appointed year for when it's supposed to take about the first 6 months, give or take, with really a lot of the groundwork being laid now. So the question remains if out of this, Governor Greg Abbott will end up calling a special session. I have my suspicions, particularly as we get closer to, well, the actual election here, that may or may not have an influence on the consideration for it. I know that there are others in the county, in the state rather, including Tarrant County commissioners hoping for a special legislative session on gun violence. Their commissioners unanimously passed a resolution today saying Texas needs, quote unquote, common sense policies after 21 people, of course, were shot in the South Texas city of Uvalde. And Dallas County passed their own resolution asking for a special session last week. And of course, do have those two legislative committees, both on the House and the Senate side, involving this, which again is worth noting. We do have 2 El Paso state legislators involved with that. So whether or not there's actually anything concrete coming out of this, hopefully once we get more towards the recommendation phase, be able to see a little bit more about that. But as I did mention, of course, the election, I'd be remiss to then mention some of the latest polling numbers that have, of course, come out. A new poll coming out from Blueprint Polling says that almost 49% of the 600 plus likely voters that they surveyed definitively picked Republican Abbott, while Democrat O'Rourke had about 33% report, leading about to a 19% spread there. So but also led O'Rourke with 7% leaning towards, while about 4% leaning towards O'Rourke. And this is a little bit more than some other recent-ish polls have noted by our news partners, noticing about a 10-point lead for Abbott. So the poll did also note that 62% wanted more restrictive gun purchase laws. So I think that'll be, again, one poll is maybe ignorable, but if this turns into a trend, that could lead again to the thinking within the governor's office of what he will do both legislatively and to a little bit politically dealing with coming up to this. Again, some of the conversations that have been going on around that, not too much coming out of the Texas legislature at this point, but I have no doubt that at least some mention will probably come up on the idea of, at least I think, more likely than not in Texas. And that does not mean that I think it's going to happen, but there are things that I think are much less likely to happen, such as actual, say, restrictions on the type of firearms that can be purchased. I don't see that happening anytime soon, given the political climate in Texas, but there's at least been exploration been going on when it comes to other things such as raising purchase age limits. And of course, maybe this one seems, I'll put it maybe in the middle of the pack when it comes to possibilities of the potential for red flag laws. But I also know that, particularly for the governor's base, that is a very thorny issue. So I'm not exactly saying I think it'll happen, but I would give it middle in odds in terms of, well, everything else going on with these. So those are possible, but whether or not that's actually above water, frankly, if any of those are above 50%, I think only polls will be able to tell and guide that coming up here. John Brazelton saying that government always follows, never leads. Yeah, and particularly following opinion polls. I guess I don't really have a good read on how much Abbott really cares about opinion polls, general ones anyway, whether or not it comes from his funders, supporters, and known voters for him, the base, essentially. That is probably a better question, and we'll see how we get closer to that. Michael Petto is also saying gun violence can be eliminated if criminals are put in jail. Again, kind of going towards the enforcing laws on the books kind of mentality. But of course, this conversation will not end, but that was the state level stuff that I at least wanted to make sure we got to yesterday. But we got a lot more coming out of this and a lot more stuff even happening today here. So we're going to talk more about that. I already do for the first break here of the hour. We have a lot that we want to try and squeeze in and get to here today. Some economic concerns, some more also involving, well, that Summit of the Americas that we hadn't really gotten into, what the proposal, joint resolution, I guess is the technical term, coming out of that actually says and what it might actually do, according to expert analysis, and a whole lot more coming up after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am, of course, your host, Andrew J. Polk. Coming out of this break, those topics and more, your comments, plus the phone lines a little bit later in the hour, as we usually do. In any case, stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. We have some important holidays coming up. And of course, if you're just looking at, enjoying the summer as much as can be done, maybe grilling in the evenings might be a better plan. Still working on opening up my grill for the season. But if you are thinking about any of that way, let me give you a short secret for how to turn some of your great recipes to even greater ones. Getting the great supply from our friends over at Enhanced Flavors. They've got the extra virgin olive oils, flavored olive oils, and even balsamic vinegars, of course, straight from the Modena province of Italy, and otherwise from the best places in the world, from that Tunisia, Italy, Greece, and Spain. And they, of course, are your local supplier for it. So they've got the supply on hand for you and can even deliver it to you here locally. One I'm excited to try, getting my top up more recently coming to me. I'm looking at the El Paso Zesty Blend, one of their new ones available. So I'll, of course, report back to you on my thoughts on that. But if you want to check it out for yourself, they are often out in the community, of course, at Farmers Market, particularly the Country Club Farmers Market happening on Saturdays. But otherwise, you can always find them online. EnhancedFlavors.com is the place to find them. And particularly, you might want to take note, if you place your next order online, enter the code at checkout, EF Radio. That's EF Radio, as in Enhanced Flavors Radio. Just EF Radio to get 15% off your next order when placed online. Again, that website, enhancedflavors.com. That's enhanced with a D, flavors.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound starting to look better in the city since those lane restrictions are ending. I-10 eastbound from Vinton to Trans Mountain, still slow with 12-minute delays. On the 10 eastbound from Trans Mountain to the 54 Patriot, it's still slow with 5-minute delays. I-10 eastbound at Copia, a stalled super tanker is blocking the right shoulder, and Joe Battle northbound just south of Edgemere, an injury accident. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
Wondering how our country can get out of this mess? Then you should be listening to Red Pilled America, the best storytelling show in the country. This week we tell the story of how our culture has shifted so far to the left. Listen to Red Pilled America every week on the free iHeartRadio app. That's Red Pilled America.
Hey, El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. We make car buying fast, fun, and easy. And due to high demand, we need trades. So we'll do whatever it takes to get you out of your old vehicle into a new car, truck, or SUV today.
Even if you owe thousands more than your trade is worth, we want it, so you can get huge savings on every new and certified pre-owned vehicle in our huge inventory. For a limited time, get $4,000 off MSRP on the all-new 2022 full-size Wagoneer SUV with third-row seating and up to $7,000 off select new Ram trucks. Super low 2.9% APR for 72 months on the all-new 2022 Dodge Charger. All military personnel and all first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Trade and upgrade for less during the Make the Switch event at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Where buying a car is fun at I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 2.9% APR is $15.15 per thousand finance on select vehicles. 0 down with approved credit. Offers not combined.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. A staggering 8 million tons of plastic ends up in the world's oceans every year. If current trends continue, our oceans could contain more plastic than fish by 2050. Do your part. Purchase items made from renewable or recycled content and recycle whenever possible. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Research shows listeners don't like it when ads interrupt their music. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual customizes home insurance, we made this ad optional. If you want to skip this ad, remove your left earphone. Liberty Mutual customizes home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
If you're missing this informative ad, you must love wasting your cash.
It's the easy and smart way to save.
Now it's all been said, so if that earphone was out, put it back in your head.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day.
I don't watch television, so I get all my news from you.
News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the show. Of course, we've got the social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. You can find us on those platforms and leave your comments, as a lot are doing already. Raul Francisco Amaya, RJ, Michael Pettis, John Brausselton, and more, and also dropping those likes, and which we always appreciate. Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, and Flaco Jimenez. Also, don't forget to hit that, bell, the notification when we go live. It's a simple way to put it, but it shows up as a little bell icon if you're over there, particularly on the Facebook. But again, maybe there's too many ways to get at us. If that's a problem, let me know. But we've also got, of course, the talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app, which we do have that contest, well, giveaway more accurately, going through with. And if you just leave your message on there, you'll be entered to win for the $100 gift card. We have another one up for grabs from Gentleman's Republic Barber Salon and Men's Spa. So just on the iHeartRadio app, make sure you're listening to us or the station in general. It doesn't even have to be during this time, but make it clear that you're talking to us by hitting that radio button, leaving your message, and you'll be entered into the drawing. And we'll pick a winner each week. Of course, another one coming up here for Father's Day. So for the Father's Day giveaway, make sure you do that if you are so interested. But some of the comments that have come in on the subject there of the first segment here are RJ saying, red flags or Fourth Amendment, I'm for due process. I think that is one of the more interesting arguments to be made on this. And I mean interesting in a couple of ways. One, that yes, I think it's very impactful, but also the fact that it, at least with people I've talked with, and I make no representation of this being otherwise representational of the overall public or how, say, legislators might vote, but the idea of Fourth Amendment implications being involved in this, I've actually, to badly quote someone I do know, saying that, I'm all for gun control, but leave the Fourth Amendment alone, end quote. So that kind of a sentiment, the idea of the ends not necessarily justifying the means, I do think is important here. And John Browse has been saying a little bit earlier as well, if both the state and federal government had spent this money earlier on school security, there might not have been an Uvalde shooting. I mean, 2020 is hindsight, and actually, interesting comment coming in from Raul Francisco Amaya, what criminal records have the mass killers had? That is another interesting point to be made because, again, anecdotally, just what I have paid notice to, particularly when looking at the information currently available about the person in Uvalde, the accused and deceased shooter there, that there may not have been much prior inclination, prior evidence outside of this. I mean, some school records and such, but also when you start getting into minors and records, it gets a little bit thorny. So whether or not that would have actually been effective there is a decent question to be asked. Again, looking through the lens of what would this have actually done for prior incidents is more than a little bit important, even if let's just say that I have a dubious nature starting out to begin with on any particular time this comes up, because there's a lot of, this is the reason that I want legislators to know what the hell they're actually legislating on, because it goes across many issues and many political boundaries here. So let's just start there. But the other thing I did want to, of course, mention here today about, and what we teased, about what was going on during the Summit of the Americas. You may have heard this slightly in the background on the idea of, that there were some states not involving there in terms of sovereign nations, I guess I should clarify, particularly that Cuba, Nicaragua, and some others that are deemed more authoritarian than not were not being invited. That, of course, Mexico bowed out, or more specifically, should I say, the Mexican president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, also known slightly more affectionately, maybe not, as AMLO, bowed out of that, saying that, well, if these aren't invited, we're not going to show up either, and some consternation about the way the White House ended up releasing the actual, invitation list there, trying to seemingly delay it in order to save some face for the Mexican leadership, but that ultimately not working out. But the real thing I want to get into here is that after the summit and the visitation and the otherwise participation of most of the other countries there, that they did release at the end of the conference there, or the summit, I guess I should say, the Los Angeles Declaration on Migration and Protection, signed June 10th, 2022, and signed on to by Argentina, Barbados, Belize, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Ecuador, El Salvador. I'll just finish the list here. Guatemala, Guyana, Haiti, Honduras, Jamaica, U.S., of course, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, United Mexican States. So then there was the U.S., my bad, Uruguay, and that was the full list there of those signing on to this, therefore coming out from the city that the summit was held in. This, again, idea of the Los Angeles Declaration on Migration and Protection. Now, the actual declaration itself reads pretty dryly and pretty, pro forma, essentially. It's a legal-ish document, but the White House did further come out with the fact sheet on it, boiling it down to 4 major points they feel might have an impact coming out of this. Specifically, 4 pillars. They really like the pillar format these days. If you also think about the Department of Homeland Security's announcement about the end of Title 42 before that got to put a stay on it, but I digress. Pillar 1, stability and assistance for communities, listing out several and different countries, what specific efforts are underway under there, and also what will be supported for there, among other things, such as a global concessional financing facility, as well as more aid for other countries participating in it. Pillar number 2, legal pathways and protection, such as Canada's resettlement program, Guatemala promoting legal labor migration programs, Mexico expanding the existing border worker card program, among other things. Again, if you want to see the full list, check over whitehouse.gov. And then pillar number 3, humane border management. This one a little bit more interesting because it did technically announce new action on the part of the United States. United States announcing a multilateral sting operation, quote unquote, to disrupt human smuggling networks across the hemisphere. And saying that the president will announce a first-of-its-kind campaign, unprecedented at scale, to disrupt and dismantle smuggling networks in Latin America. In the last 2 months, the United States, led by DHS, has surged over 1,300 personnel, 1,300 personnel, throughout the region, border region that is, and invested over $50 million to support these activities. Through the end of May, efforts have produced approximately 20,000 total disruption actions, including arrests and prosecutions, seizures of property such as houses and vehicles used to hide and smuggle people, and criminal investigations. DHS assesses that this has led to 900 fewer migrants arriving in the southwest border each day, and we are just getting started. Again, this is their statement. The U.S. will seek to expand the efforts with other governments in the region to improve information sharing, build capacity, and advance criminal investigations. Also, more talk about efficiency and fairness of asylum at the border. More important there. So, I guess it was only technically 3 pillars here. But again, this pillar format is interesting to me, the way they keep putting out about it. RJ saying that Obrador is not impressed with Biden. He also called the Ukraine war NATO's immoral war. Yeah, let's just say AMLO is, if you haven't paid much attention to what's actually going on with the government south of the border, it's worth looking into, among other things. Essentially, AMLO didn't quite declare that there was a soft coup against him, but did some very interesting language involving that journalists, my paraphrasing, are talking mean about me, and that is tantamount to trying to remove me from office and therefore a coup. I'm not saying that I think he's cracking up, but you can kind of see it from here. So you're more than welcome to make your own determination on what that individual is doing down there. But again, so all of this being signed on to by the multinations actually participating into it, and even some who weren't technically participating, again, Mexico, or leadership of Mexico, I should say, notably absent during this summit, but saying that they're signing on to it. Unfortunately, there is a lot of doubt, shall we say, and across the spectrum, it does appear to me, about what this will actually do, that these were actually either programs already in process in the pipeline, essentially, and this is just kind of a celebration moment for them, or that the larger efforts or the larger goals being established within this resolution, well, among other things, the resolution is non-binding. Just kind of a, yeah, we'll totally do that. But if we don't do it, there's literally nothing that will happen to us, nor any recourse even within the body we're talking about. I mean, international agreement summits, of course, notoriously, shall we say, lacking in follow-up with what is put forth. Shades of the UN do come to mind. I mean, great in theory, but in actual reality and what happens with it, yeah, there's reason to have doubt. And, of course, then the, well, minor amount of realpolitik and geopolitical implications that came out of this about, well, do these other countries actually sign on to it, remains to be seen. Again, the reason I mentioned specifically that idea of the sting operation going on, it's similar-ish, I will say, to something I've personally been calling for on the idea of actually having some maybe cross-border enforcement. I mean, it seems particularly on this side of the border specifically that it is doing here. And also want to note that another one of the pillars there was the United States committing to resettle 20,000 refugees from the Americas during fiscal years 2023 to 2024. Noting that it's a threefold increase from the current year in any case. But the sting operation, some of the commentary I've been looking to on that says that, sure, that might be a good idea, but that announcing it, well, let's just say that none of these actual criminal organizations are necessarily places that have storefronts and, keep stored hours, so to speak, that they might be more than content to go dark for a while and wait for the current fervor of it to pass, unless it remains current and ongoing, that the idea of it being, well, essentially showing your cards might be a bit of an issue there. So that's some of the things that are going on with the coming out of the Summit of the Americas, and whether or not it actually works here. Well, I will say one thing, not exactly coming out of this, but simultaneous, shall we say. The headline from Yahoo News: Mexico disbands migrant caravan that set out for U.S. during the Americas Summit. Again, it wasn't necessarily a question of is Mexico totally breaking, or at least the leadership of Mexico, I should correct myself, breaking away from this organization and just saying middle finger to y'all, we don't care about you anymore. Because, I mean, them doing that, well, whether or not it actually stays in place, we've talked a little bit about the whole ant-migration phenomenon that has been a little bit more, not exactly authorized, but tacit approval, I guess you could say, for dealing with this. But very least, I mean, that had come up as of a couple weeks ago anyway, end of the last couple of weeks, start of the most recent week, I guess I should say. And so that actually happening or not, Mexico being a little bit more proactive on that than seemingly lately, well, at least there are some lines that are willing to be considered here. So that'll take us through our next break of the hour here right now. Coming out of this break, let's talk a little bit more about what New Mexico is actually asking for, specifically in terms of migration, or rather migrant movements during, well, this very active wildfire season, but also the interactions going on with El Paso Water and how, of course, the local utility is responding. So that'll lead us to our next break. Coming out of this break, talking about that and a whole lot more. A lot of comments coming in over on the social media. We will get to those, as well as phone calls, opening up those phone lines a little bit later, end of next segment, as we usually do. Make no mistake. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 News Update. The man accused of murdering a woman outside of Cynthia's Cantina in Socorro had several inconsistencies during his interrogation. That's according to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. 41-year-old Ronald Adrian Blacksmith has been arrested for the death of 41-year-old Cynthia Alvarez on Friday. Blacksmith told officers at the scene that it was all a dream and that he should have gone home. The number of heat-related medical calls the El Paso Fire Department received this year has nearly doubled compared to last year. From May 1 to date, the El Paso Fire Department says they've received 40 medical calls related to the heat. During that same time period last year, that number was 19. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Checking your El Paso freeways, I-10 eastbound at Lee Trevino. A crash is blocking 2 left lanes. Stay to the right there. 2 center lanes are blocked by a tractor trailer at Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Hawkins. Stop and go traffic on the I-10 eastbound between Vinton and Trans Mountain with 15-minute delays right now. And we got a crash with injuries, Copia at Montana. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
After unseasonably hot weather, our temperatures will finally fall closer to seasonal values. Mostly clear and quiet conditions will continue overnight with temperatures in the middle 70s by tomorrow morning. Coming up tonight, we'll talk about a cooling trend as we head into the weekend. Plus, I'm tracking an increase in rain and storm chances. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kira Miner.
This report is sponsored by the Our American Stories podcast.
Virginia Hall is one of the most famous American spies in history, and during World War II, she was called the most dangerous of all Allied spies by none other than the Butcher of Lyon. Be sure to listen to this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're 45 or older, this message could save your life. Health experts now recommend starting regular colorectal cancer screening at age 45. Colorectal cancer is the leading cause of cancer death, but it's preventable through regular screening. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. You've got the guts to prevent colorectal cancer. Talk to your doctor about your options and visit cdc.gov/screenforlife for more info.
New on Curiosity Stream.
From time to time, we have collisions between asteroids and the Earth.
We track them, we study them, we hope the big one never comes. Don't look up, it's asteroid rush. And alligators. They rarely get sick. They even outlasted the dinosaurs. Could they hold the secret to human longevity?
Their blood could have antibacterial applications.
Wade into the investigation on immortal alligators. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
Local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else. Turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. And let's talk El Paso.
Do you need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com offers custom-made blind shades and shutters shipped directly to you at prices less than big box retailers. Blindster blinds are easy to install and guaranteed to fit. Don't overpay for new blinds. Shop Blindster today and save big. Blindster.com. This report is sponsored by Blindster.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. Keeping you informed and up to date. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the show. Of course, we got the social media up right now. A lot of comments coming in over from the Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. And again, a lot of comments coming in over there that way. Michael Perez, RJ, Kathy Codry, Calvin Williams, John Brazelton, Raul Francisco Amaya, and more. If I miss anyone, in any case, you're also dropping those likes, which you do appreciate. Ravi Flores, Monica Cervantes, and Flaco Jimenez. Kathy Codry with a crying laugh emoji to the idea of the sting operation. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not in favor of there being more agents available to do those kind of, international criminal organizations, cross-border enforcement. Whether or not it actually goes cross-border, I guess, is a reasonable question to be asked. It does make me wonder if we had recently talked about that going from roughly El Paso all the way to, I think, suburbs of Dallas, more specifically, there was that childhood missing children operation that happened that got over 70 of them that were out there. So, yeah, that was a good thing to have happen. But, I mean, if they're really wanting to clamp down on, criminal organizations, telling them, by the way, we're going to be clamping down on you, usually you'd want to do that first and then announce the results here. But I guess public policy and needs for wins here are, well, overriding in a lot of ways, and I don't think any side of the aisle is immune to that either. But a couple of the more comments here. Michael Patterson, what happened to pound 250 should be available there if you're trying to leave your message. Since you asked, a simple way to do that is you dial pound 250 on your cell phone. Does have to be a cell phone because it ends up being a digital call. And then you'll be asked to say a keyword. Just say Talk El Paso, and you should be able to leave us a message. So if you've been having any issues with that, let us know. But in any case, there's also the talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app, which we are, of course, doing that giveaway through. So if you're asking about why we're doing the giveaway that way and not the other way, the talkback feature is relatively new, and our partners over there at Gentleman's Republic Barber Salon and Men's Spa wanted to both get more input, get some people coming to see their services, and see what people can do with the app. So again, make sure you got the iHeartRadio app downloaded, but both are still available in case that was your question here. Calvin Williams saying a little bit earlier, here's a concept. Start investigating where the failures to implement the current laws are happening. I think we're talking about, that could be applied to, I guess, in my mind, both what has been going on with, well, border security, immigration, those laws, those kind of things, definitely important. But also when it comes to the gun laws, again, the situation, the Sutherland Springs shooter is one that sticks in my mind because that was literally a failure of simple notification or more largely the bureaucracy in dealing with it. So yeah, closing gaps in the system, but just speaking some of the national things, of course, coming forth that are just related to that discussion here. I know that there is some bills that I think we got during the top of the hour news break, and will probably be coming at the top of this hour on what might be coming up there. I know that some of the specific ones notably does not include any actual restrictions on sales of specific types of weaponry, but does include the one that is most likely moving forward. It does look like expansion of background checks, the so-called boyfriend rule, which baffled me a little bit, but we might get into that a little bit more. But also some of the red flag laws, as well as raising purchase ages, I think are some of the ones nationally, anyway, that are gaining the most momentum, saying that there is that quote-unquote bipartisan group that, of course, also the White House says that they are that they are also leaving those comments on RJ, saying that some people calling in live that pound 250 is boring now. Michael Powers letting us know that wasn't working here. Okay, thanks for letting us know about that. If that's not working anymore, well, we'll just have to move on to other ways here. Of course, we do take the live phone calls as we do, opening up those phone calls at the end of this hour. But again, don't forget about the talkback feature. So I guess as one door closes, one window opens. Just hope you're not on the second story, I guess is the way to put it. So yeah, if it's not working, thanks for letting us know, because we only hear the ones that come into us. So yeah, okay, talk back. Focus on that one. iHeartRadio app. If you're already able to do the digital call, you should be able to download it. And of course, hear the show that way. Not that I dislike our AM radio signal, particularly for those of us listening in their vehicles. Please keep doing it that way and don't mess with your phone while driving. But it ends up being digital that way and a little bit cleaner. So I'm just going to say when I am listening to our station, I tend to do it through the iHeartRadio app anyway. But thanks for the clarification there. But one thing I wanted to mention before we hit that next break here is, of course, the response coming out from El Paso Water to the New Mexico Environmental Department's claims here, putting out the release as of today here, saying that, quote, El Paso Water is publicly correcting statements made by the New Mexico Environment Department in its news release of June 9th, which announced a fine related to the utilities Frontera wastewater emergency discharge into the Rio Grande, with El Paso Water CEO and President John Ballou stating, given the serious nature of the emergency, we informed City Council last year that violations and enforcement actions are to be expected. What we didn't expect was false and misleading claims from an organization with a public service mission. Now, what El Paso Water has said on their own part is that there was roughly 10 million gallons that were released as part of some utility line breaks in and around essentially if you go just past the state line in New Mexico, kind of where it's definitely no longer New Mexico, if you take my meaning, because if you ever actually look on a map, it doesn't really follow the path of the river, such as where it's no longer Texas and New Mexico. It may have been like a previous version of the river, but given the historically meandering nature of the Rio Grande, let's just say it's a little bit confusing sometimes. But in any case, they are saying that the New Mexico Environmental Department was claiming it to be closer to 1 billion gallons released. Neither is great, but there's some definitely different double order of magnitude if you think about it here. So they are saying that El Paso Water is saying that the releases and issues are being done, and that the utility worked with the contractor to overcome supply chain issues and have the pipe and components manufactured on site. So whether or not there actually are going to be more fines dealt with here and the water quality, of course, we are now in the release season coming out of the Rio Grande. If you missed that, I will always remember when this day happens because I had occasion some years ago to be doing one of the, back when I was still on TV, actually the chasing of the water, those kind of shots, seeing as it goes down. And I was with one intrepid, and I really hope he's still doing okay, reporter who went and pulled off his socks, pulled up his pant legs, and went and waded into the water as it was released, which is not an action I would typically recommend personally. But hey, if that's what moves your canoe, should I say, it was an interesting shot, but I would not recommend doing that on your own here. Reminiscing about my cheerleading days. Oh, I think he's talking about Kathy there, but hey, I guess that could apply to me as well. So that's going to take us through the next break right now. A lot of the things going on in and around the region, but of course we want to hear from you. We're going to be opening up those phone lines right now, as if you want to, besides leaving your comments over online, you can give us a call. That number to do so, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Got to take that break, but coming out of this, we'll get to those calls, those comments, and a whole lot more with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Checking your El Paso freeways, I-10 eastbound at Lee Trevino. A crash is blocking 2 left lanes. Stay to the right there. 2 center lanes are blocked by a tractor trailer at Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Hawkins. Stop and go traffic on the I-10 eastbound between Vinton and Trans Mountain with 15-minute delays right now. And we got a crash with injuries, Copia at Montana. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Truth with Lisa Booth podcast.
How does a kid go from poverty to end up being a world-renowned brain surgeon and secretary of HUD? We're going to get into that with Dr. Ben Carson. We're going to talk about his life, the current state of affairs in the country as well. Be sure to check out The Truth with Lisa Booth every Monday and Thursday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Every child is different, and learning isn't always easy. But when you find the right teacher in the right school with the right curriculum, one day it just clicks. The right school for your child is out there, and the good news is it's only a click away. Texas Online Preparatory School is a tuition-free online school with state-licensed teachers that give students the personalized attention they need to succeed. K12.com/Texas Online, where education clicks.
Hey, it's Mario Courtney Lopez, and we know life is better together.
Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to make life's moments amazing.
We are all getting together more, and Smart Mouth's 24-hour power of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day keeps us from worrying about bad breath in those up-close moments.
Go to smartmouth.com/radio to save 20% or find Smart Mouth at your favorite store to give you confidence as we get closer to each other.
Remember to make life's moments better together with Smart Mouth at smartmouth.com/radio.
One dental office in El Paso where beautiful, top-quality, long-lasting dental implants are very affordable. 1995implants.com. Other places charge $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, up to $6,000 per tooth. Please don't ever pay that much for dental implants. Instead, come to 1995implants.com. Our price includes the implant, abutment, and crown, plus a free consultation with the dentist, free standard x-rays, and convenient financing plans to fit your budget. With help from 1995implants.com, you'll no longer have cracked or missing teeth, and you'll finally be able to say goodbye to loose, old, wobbly, worn-out, uncomfortable dentures. If you're ready for a brand new smile that family and friends will rave about, then come to 1995implants.com, conveniently located right here in El Paso. For more information, see our website, 1995implants.com. That's 1995implants.com. Se habla español.
Second half of the year looking busier than the first? Hire with Indeed. Their powerful platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates in one place. Sponsor a job and immediately get a short list of quality candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the show. Of course, we do have that phone line open right now. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Also got the comments coming in over on the social media where you can see the full presentation we do for each and every show. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk on those platforms here. And we'll get to there as well with the commentary coming in. But of course, want to remind you before we hit that next hour here about leaving those calls through the talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app. Simply put, if you're listening to us through the iHeartRadio app or 690 in general, you can leave your comment there, little voice message by hitting that microphone and then, well, leaving your message. And you'll also, this week, be entered to win the Father's Day giveaway, the $100 gift card to Gentleman's Republic Barber Salon and Men's Spa. Already got one giveaway down there, Calvin with his message there. The email bounce back that you have on your account there, Calvin. So make sure to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to make sure that you can get your gift card, the information you need to get it for, again, Gentleman's Republic Barber Salon and Men's Spa. Or for whoever you want, it's up to you, and it's your prerogative. But again, that brought to you by, of course, News Radio 690 KTSM and our partners over there at Gentleman's Republic. So, a lot of commentary coming in over online here, but I did, of course, mention that we do have the phone line open right now. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. One thing I want to mention before we get there, Barbara Carrasco saying that perhaps the protesters at SCOTUS, Supreme Court justices' residences, should pay for the justices' security, which will be in the millions of dollars, and they should also be prosecuted for breaking the law. I cannot really imagine the presence of mind you have to go and mess with judges. Like, I had instilled to me from a very young age that you do not mess with judges. Not that it came up a lot, but let's just say anyone that I knew, lawyers, are saying, even if there were jokes about messing with judges, they were pretty quick to shut that down because, I mean, heck, I've been berated by a judge for something I didn't even do. No, I was not called before the court for anything besides reporting on it, but it was literally something a previous reporter had done that they were upset about and apparently took it out on me. But actually, on that note, reason I bring it up is that the House has now passed and therefore is on its way to the president's desk a bill to, well, extend police protection to Supreme Court justices' families. The Senate passed the bill unanimously last month, and the bill again passed the House today, prompted, of course, by those protests and the leak of the draft Supreme Court majority decision over the potential end of Roe v. Wade. Still kind of waiting with bated breath for that decision. I have to imagine that it's probably going to come at the end of this whole release season. But, of course, there's been a number of incidents, of course. But let's get back to those phone lines now. Again, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Catherine Codry also saying full moon vibes there, maybe more than a little bit. Just weird driving on the roads, but I also got to stop leaving the station so late sometimes, let's put it that way. But the phone line here, we do have a call on the line here right now. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Hi, this is Mike on the west side. How you doing?
Doing all right there, Mike. What's on your mind?
Good. I just wanted to clear up a couple things talking about this gun passage bill or gun laws from the Senate. A lot of these, a lot of the laws that they're proposing already exist on the books. For example, straw purchases are against the law. The issue is that they're not prosecuted pretty much anywhere, especially in towns that have Democrat-run criminal justice systems. There was just recently a news article of a young man who had 21 stolen guns, and he was just let go. He was let free. So if they don't prosecute people for straw purchasing, I mean, putting the law down doesn't change anything. And again, the red flag thing, they're trying to financially incentivize states to institute red flag laws. There are all sorts of laws on the books if somebody is a danger to themselves or other, to have them committed or have them evaluated. But these red flag laws were declared by the Supreme Court in 2011 by all 9 justices to be unconstitutional. And then the boyfriend or loophole. Democrats like to use the word loophole and they don't even know what the definition of the loophole is. Again, that's nothing different than the Lautenberg Amendment, which is a felony for anybody convicted of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence to buy, possess a firearm. And as a matter of fact, the Lautenberg amendment affects a lot of people, especially in the military, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in law enforcement or if you're in the military, you have to sign a document saying that you are not prohibited possessor under this amendment. But again, it's probably something that's not really being followed up on, and it's not being enforced. And so, I'm glad they're duplicating some things because it really doesn't mean anything. It's less of an attack on the Second Amendment. But still, the main thing is if they prosecuted the existing laws that exist, there would be much less gun crime. But they don't do that. And we all know that because we can see it.
I mean, yeah, the lack of
Every day
enforcement.
in the news.
Yeah, the lack of enforcement happens there. What's come to mind, particularly on that whole line of questioning and inquiry on this, is that there are other examples of laws in the books where there are extra enforcement measures. Operation Stone Garden comes to mind for one for me. The whole idea of incentivizing not even just statewide, but local police forces, sheriffs, etc., in the state of Texas anyway, to be more active when it comes to dealing with DWI, drunk drivers, etc. And so literally that is against the law, but there is a recognition of extra enforcement needed with that. So, really when it comes down to dealing with firearms laws, really I'm not aware of much kind of similar collaborative nature when it comes to, say, the federal agency involved with this, the ATF, outside of the, post facto enforcement of once a crime has been committed, any of this kind of more proactive nature of it. I'm not really aware of an analog for, say, Operation Stone Garden when it comes to, illegal possession, those kind of things.
There was one in Virginia. There was an operation in conjunction with the federal government, federal law enforcement, and the city. It escapes my mind right now. And it was highly successful. Well, they were doing is, the majority of these crimes are committed by felons, by criminals that have previous criminal histories. So what they were doing in this operation was everybody that was captured with a gun was charged federally with a federal gun crime because it's a gun violation. If you're a felon in possession of a gun, I think it's a 5-year count. So they started charging people with federal crimes, 5-year federal counts, and the violence and the murder rate dropped dramatically. But once again, a liberal DA gets involved and shut it down. Why? Because too many people were going to jail. Liberals don't understand. People just don't go to jail. They go to jail because they've committed a crime and have broken the law. And it's been determined in a court of law that they've done so. And I think that's another thing that needs to be talked about is people go to jail because they committed a crime. There is no such thing as mass incarceration or any such nonsense. It's simply not true.
Okay. I might politely disagree with you on some of those finer points, particularly when we're talking about the for-profit contracts for, prison specifically, but that's a whole nother conversation there. Tell you what, thanks for the point in the call. We got to take that next break right now to get out the top of the hour here. We'll talk more about this and take more of your calls coming out with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. If you're wanting to get on the line, along with the comments we also got coming in that we'll delve back into, the number to call is 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
2 center lanes blocked on Gateway Boulevard, eastbound at Hawkins, a tractor-trailer rig right in the center. Eastbound on the Border Highway, the South Yarborough exit is blocked. I-10 eastbound at Lee Trevino. Accident is cleared up. All lanes are back open. Still a huge backup, though. I-10 eastbound between Vinton and Trans Mountain, 15-minute delays. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This is Michael David from Seattle. I'm 51 years old, and 6 months ago, I started taking Andro 400 to increase my testosterone. Since then, I've lost 35 pounds of fat, and my waist went from size 38 to size 32. I have more energy, and I look and feel 20 years younger. And now my wife tells me I have to take Andro 400.
Hi, this is Ron Johnson from Utah. After 10 weeks of taking Andro 400, I lost 13 pounds and my waist went from 36 to 33. That was 8 years ago. I continue to take Andro 400 and I've maintained my weight at 172. Gained muscle and energy. I'm 63 now and feel better than I have in 30 years.
Andro 400, the natural way to increase testosterone, lose belly fat, gain energy, and feel great. Try Andro 400, the safe, effective, affordable way to boost your testosterone. Go to andro400.com or call 888-400-0435. 888-400-0435.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. White House economist Brian Deese says the U.S. is undergoing a transition, not a recession.
We're transitioning from what has been the strongest economic recovery in modern American history to what can be, and we hope will be, more stable and resilient growth.
He also touted the economy's growth and strong labor market. He admitted soaring prices are a challenge on President Biden's mind, but said the U.S. is uniquely positioned to take it on from a stable economy. Oil production will definitely be on the agenda when the president travels to Saudi Arabia next month, so said White House National Security Council Coordinator John Kirby. He said the president will not shy away from candid discussions about human rights abuses. The FDA is recommending Moderna's 2-dose COVID-19 vaccine for kids ages 6 to 17. An FDA committee found the most common side effects of the vaccines were pain at the spot of injection, nausea, chills, fatigue, and headaches. Connecticut is at the center of the nationwide debate over gun safety measures, including a proposal to help states enact red flag laws. It was the first state to pass such a law, which gives police broad authority to temporarily confiscate firearms if the owner poses a risk to themselves or others. A bill extending police protection to Supreme Court justices' families is headed to President Biden's desk after easy passage by the House. Lisa Taylor reports.
The Senate passed the bill unanimously last month. The measure was prompted by protests outside the homes of some justices. That followed the leak of a draft Supreme Court opinion suggesting an end to Roe v. Wade, the decision that legalized abortion nationwide. More recently, police arrested a man near the home of Justice Brett Kavanaugh. He was charged with attempted murder.
At the closing bell, the Dow Jones lost 151 points to 30,364. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. Teenagers across the country are being offered huge salaries and big bonuses to take on open jobs that employers just can't fill. Noam Layden has the story.
Teenagers are commanding big money and flexible schedules this summer, and they know they have the upper hand because millions of jobs are open.
Prices have definitely inflated, so those pay raises definitely do help, and the extra hours definitely do help, especially when I want to go out with friends.
Teens are in some cases getting double the salary they earned just a year ago. Some employers say they're hiring workers on the spot and are enticing others with bonuses.
We'll soon know if Spirit Airlines will merge with JetBlue Airways or Frontier Airlines. JetBlue recently sweetened its offer to buy Spirit, which already had a merger deal with Frontier. Spirit says it expects to finalize the merger ahead of the June 30th shareholders meeting. A longtime resident at New York City's Bronx Zoo is staying put. Natalie Migliori has more.
It ends a lengthy battle of an animal rights group fighting to free an Asian elephant named Happy. They argued she was illegally detained over 40 years ago and should be taken to a more natural environment. In a vote of 5-2, New York's highest court ruled Happy is not a person and doesn't have human rights, which means she's not being illegally held at the Bronx Zoo. The chief judge on the case wrote, "No one disputes the impressive capabilities of an elephant, but fundamental human rights do not apply to non-human animals."
An iconic Marilyn Monroe dress is now allegedly damaged. It was recently worn by Kim Kardashian at the 2022 Met Gala. The Marilyn Monroe collection shared a photo on Instagram which showed the bedazzled dress missing some crystals and others barely hanging by a thread. The post also went into detail about the efforts to preserve the dress by even sending a security team with Kardashian to the gala to oversee her every move. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now, your chance at a trip to our 2022 iHeartRadio Music Festival. Text the nationwide keyword Vegas to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's Vegas to 200-200.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples has your workspace covered with furniture and organizational items curated by Staples Work From Home Style Squad. Now get 25% off storage and filing products, chair mats, decor, and lighting with the purchase of a desk or office chair. In-store only. Offer N72. Staples, the working and learning store.
M1EP.com. Superior multifamily property management services citywide.
Are you ready for summer? Wherever summer takes you, make sure you take your favorite radio station with you on your adventures with the free iHeartRadio app. That's right. No matter how far from home you travel, this station, the music you love, and the best podcasts in the world will be right there with you in your pocket.
Summer soundtrack.
Sunscreen, flip-flops, and the free iHeart app. Must-haves for any summer checklist. Download the free iHeartRadio app and discover music, radio, and podcasts you'll love this summer.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone?
Do flowers have best friends?
I don't know. Hey, look.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Let's talk about America. Not taxes or tweets or the issues that divide us, but how incredible our country is. Whether you come home to a crowded city street or sleepy small town, everyone deserves to live in a clean, green, and thriving community. We are Keep America Beautiful, the nonprofit working with millions of people like you to end littering, improve recycling, and beautify communities. Learn more at kab.org. Together, we can do beautiful things.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media platforms. We're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of good ways you can get at us there. Of course, we have that phone line open as well. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We've got a couple calls on the line here, and we'll get to those here, as well as comments coming in throughout. RJ making an allusion here, saying red flag laws scream abuse. To me, like a sadist saying may have another, or maybe it's masochist. Never understood either one. I'm certainly with you on that. So I guess if you're getting the red flag and you're enjoying it, masochist there, giving it and enjoying that, sadist, I guess, technically, to my understanding, never been much into that one Rihanna song as it is. Also, Steve Ivy joining us from the farm in Clint, Texas, and John Brazelton, very interested in what kind of farming it is. I think that is a question we've talked a little bit about, what local food operations there can be. So, and also, how's it going for you? I would love to know. But Michael Perez clarifying what was talked about right before the break with that cooperative program in Virginia, Richmond specifically, called Operation Exile. I'll be honest, first time I've heard of it, but appreciate learning something every day. And that program goal to reduce Richmond's homicide rate by detaining dangerous armed felons prior to trial and prosecuting them in federal court. Specific groups targeted by the strategy: previously convicted felons who possess guns and or armed persons involved in drug or violent crimes. And Paul, the link you provided there as well. I'll have to read more up on that because, Virginia, I don't spend a ton of time coming through Virginia's laws, I will freely admit, but also there being any kind of even national precedent as of interest to me. But a lot more comments coming in there throughout of this. Also, John Brassett and Kathy Codry, Flaco Jimenez, Barbara Carrasco, Ed Clore, and more. Calvin Williams as well. Also dropping those likes and reacts. We do appreciate Calvin Williams, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, and Flaco Jimenez. One other question came in here, Flaco Jimenez saying before the commonality of mass shootings, attacking judges, anti-police rhetoric, and so forth, children were disciplined differently. People were actually parented and school boards weren't sued for disciplining kids. Any correlation? I mean, we're talking about something that would have happened generationally at that point, but I do think that it's a reasonable question to ask or further investigate what exactly has changed in the United States when it comes to that. What is therefore, I mean, there were points in time when, again, before 1934, among other things. Have you ever seen the movie The Lawman? I want to say what it is. I might be slightly mistaken, but it's essentially from the legal side of the law enforcement side of the whole Bonnie and Clyde issue. Yeah, I'm not saying the name right. Let me look it up here for a second. But the idea of that and going into a store and just pulling stuff off the wall as being available to anyone at that point in time is interesting. shall we say the least here. But let's go back to those phone lines right now. Again, that number to call 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Johnny over in Central on the line with us here right now. Johnny, thanks for joining us.
Yes, good afternoon. Yeah, I'd like to weigh in on one of your callers. He had some good points, and I just want to kind of nail down some of my thoughts on these things about what's going on out there. I keep hearing this thing about raising the age of 21 for the assault weapon, et cetera. And I never understood that, because just because someone has to be over 21 to buy a weapon, that doesn't mean that anyone under 21 can put their hands on a weapon. I think about these little childish things years ago when I knew people used to go into the store and buy cigarettes for their 15 and 16-year-old friends sitting out in the car, and they all would go away smoking and drinking. So just because the laws are there, that does not keep the things that people are not supposed to be having in their hands out of their hands, because there are people older than them that will accommodate them. On the red flag thing, again, I'm thinking about Uvalde and some of the other killings too, especially Uvalde, since it's one of the latest situations.
Of course.
No way anyone with red flag and all this other stuff, over 21, and that stuff would stop these people from getting killed, getting murdered. Because, again, if he hadn't gone and purchased a weapon, someone else could have purchased a weapon. And I think I heard someone say, and I agree, we even seen it in movies. You mentioned a movie a few minutes ago. You see how these people, the criminals, be selling weapons out of the back of cars. They're coming from other states. And chances are the ones who purchase them either have a criminal record or don't have a criminal record, but they still get their hands on the weapons. So I don't think these things they're working on in the Senate right now is going to help us at all. And I'm glad to see that they came out with something fast to protect those Supreme Court justices. And I know we had a judge here. I can't think of the situation here, but, a few months ago we had a judge here. I think her son was killed, or someone, one of her family members was either killed or injured, and another judge too. So I don't think that should happen with any of our public officials, but I'm surprised at how they can work fast when they want to. I'm talking about the people up in D.C. They came out with a quick law to protect the judges, but here they're still going around in circles trying to figure out how to protect the rest of the people out here in this country from these kind of crimes. And a lot of these people, again, red flag is not going to help, because if you want to talk mental health, if a person is mentally ill, again, you're not going to stop them. You're not going to stop them from getting their hands on these weapons and going and killing people. So again, I say go back to when nobody wanted to touch for some reason. I say the way you can stop it is take those weapons off the street. Period. Assault weapons off the street. Not only they over 21 or 18, 21 can't get them. Nobody can get them, because you don't need to be under 21 to go out and do all these kind of crimes. A lot of these people are older too. So I'm just saying they need to just get to the subject, but they're all afraid to do it. And as I said, take the assault weapons off the streets.
Yeah, again, a lot of allusions being made to, again, the assault weapons ban, so-called, of 1994, in which it's important to note, I do think, that it did not ban the possession, it banned the new sale, if it were going to be anything styled off of that. I think there's some interesting debate to be held there. But and the movie I was referring to here, I managed to find it here, is The Highwaymen, depicting, among other things, again, around the Bonnie and Clyde thing. And Kevin Costner's character goes into a gun store, but it could have been a hardware shop as well at that point in time, and it pulls off essentially, well, what would still be more or less construed as these same kind of weapons, just not exactly an AR-15, but the same kind of functionality, semi-automatic, magazine-fed, etc., but fully automatic, actually, in these cases, right off the wall, and just purchases a whole pile of them. And that's the way it was at that point in time before the passage of the 1934 National Firearms Act and, well, the subsequent, of course, 1980s law that further reinforced that during the Reagan administration, actually, believe it or not. But to your central point there about the idea of it, I know that what is currently being discussed, or at least most prevalent being discussed within the national legislature, does not include that. Red flag purchase limits, and again, that boyfriend loophole, as it's being discussed, seem to be what is most palatable to the politicians at the moment. So we'll see. I mean, it does kind of feel like there is a fuse on this, so to speak, that if something doesn't happen before the November election, it is not likely to. So whether or not it actually does, well, just something we've got to keep an eye on, I do suppose.
One more thing do not get out of the way, Andrew. The teachers are here. They're trying to do everything to include arm the teachers, and a lot of the teachers are resistant to that, and I agree with them. Why should they try to? And then I think there's one state, I think it's Ohio, just passed a law saying 24 hours, some minimum of 24 hours to learn how to fire a weapon. That's just that's unnecessary. Just take the animal or the weapon that's causing the problem out of the hands of our citizens. We won't worry about trying to spend money arming schools, arming teachers, and everything else.
Yeah.
Okay, I know you have other callers, but that's what I thought I want to say.
No, thank you for the point of the call. Do appreciate it. And to your question there, yeah, Ohio. Thought it was and just looked it up. That was Ohio looking at that potential or having passed that law actually as of this week here. So I do appreciate the point in the call here. Let me just say this. I find myself in favor of the ability, if teachers want to take on a level of responsibility themselves for school safety and school classroom safety and being armed if they so choose. But where I run into the issue with it, where that is the replacement as we'll just have the teachers do it and we don't have to do anything else coming out of any legislature, Texas or otherwise, them saying that, and that's the solution and we don't really have to put anything else into it. That's where I'm going to run into the issue, because essentially outsourcing it, making it you should have trained better, when they're teachers. They are not hired on this job for their ability to handle tactical situations. I mean, usually we decry that in what is often, referred to as inner city schools having, disciplinary problems, often the way it's portrayed. Of course, it can happen in any school here. That's just often the way I hear it described. But the idea of that, therefore, being outsourced to them, we would decry them having to handle violence in almost any other situations by themselves, as they need more structural things with that. So expecting them to do it on their own, kind of I don't know the right way to describe it, but it just seems like if there isn't then a complementary and we are going to make other reforms to increase security on our own, that is where I'm going to have an issue with it here. Kathy Cody, among other things, saying hire armed security guards at all schools. Also, RJ is saying there are laws to protect the justices. DC won't enforce them. So, and I will say, even with your idea about the speediness of this law being passed, it still took better part of a month. By design, the legislature is not supposed to be fast. So the fact that this came together so quickly and unanimously in at least one of the chambers here, to my understanding, I believe it was the Senate, is not common in this day and age, shall we say here. But let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we will get to more of the calls on the line. Again, if you want to try and squeeze in there, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. A lot more we'll get to, and a lot more conversation happening here on Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. That number one more time, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more. Stay tuned. We, of course, have been talking about that giveaway we are doing for Gentleman's Republic, the Father's Day giveaway. All in with Gentleman's Republic Barber Salon and Men's Spa and News Radio 690 KTSM to get in on that and get that $100 gift card for the important father in your life, or whoever, really. You could be the father yourself if you so decide. All you have to do is to leave a comment through the iHeartRadio app on the 690 page. Use the talkback feature, that little red microphone button. Leave us a message. We'll play it on air. And, of course, we will choose the winner coming up for the end of this week. So we'll get some more of that coming in. And if you want to just schedule your own services for you or, again, the special man in your life for Father's Day or any occasion, you can give them a call at 915-532-3000. That's 915-532-3000. Or find them online with information about all their services at gentsrepublic.com. That's GENTS Republic.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On the border highway eastbound at Yarborough, the exit there, the Yarborough exit is blocked because of a crash. Try exiting Midway or Padres Drive instead. Gateway east at Hawkins, 2 center lanes still blocked by a tractor-trailer rig. Stay to the right or left there. 10-minute delays on the 10 eastbound from Vinton to Artcraft in the north part of the city. And downtown, an injury accident, Myrtle Avenue at Cotton Street. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
Wondering how our country can get out of this mess? Then you should be listening to Red Pilled America, the best storytelling show in the country. This week we tell the story of how our culture has shifted so far to the left. Listen to Red Pilled America every week on the free iHeartRadio app. That's Red Pilled America.
Hey El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Southern Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. We make car buying fast, fun, and easy. And due to high demand, we need trades. So we'll do whatever it takes to get you out of your old vehicle into a new car, truck, or SUV today.
Even if you owe thousands more than your trade is worth, we want it, so you can get huge savings on every new and certified pre-owned vehicle in our huge inventory. For a limited time, get $4,000 off MSRP on the all-new 2022 full-size Wagoneer SUV with third-row seating and up to $7,000 off select new Ram trucks. Super low 2.9% APR for 72 months on the all-new 2022 Dodge Charger. All military personnel and all first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Trade and upgrade for less during the Make the Switch event at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Where buying a car is fun at I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina El Paso. El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 2.9% APR is $15.15 per thousand finance on select vehicles. 0 down with approved credit. Offers not combined.
How many of you have pets? My hand's raised. Now think about how lucky you are to have such a sweet little pet in your life, and that pet is lucky to have you too. But unfortunately, there are countless pets out there that don't have a home to call their own. However, Bob's from Skechers is trying to change that. So we developed Bob's for dogs and cats to help pets in need. With every purchase of adorable Bob's footwear or fun, stylish apparel, or even the cutest Bob's pet accessories, Skechers makes a donation to Petco Love to help save shelter pets. And with your help, we've already saved the lives of over 1 million pets and donated over $7 million. So while you're getting style and comfort with features like Skechers' famous memory foam cushioning, you're also helping to save an adorable pet in need and helping another lucky owner be connected with a future best friend and companion, because happiness is having a loving pet by your side. Find Bob's at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, select Petco locations, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Find us on those platforms, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. Now, there's never going to be a pop quiz on how many ways you can get at us here, but we repeat them just in case you decide one way works for you better than another. You can leave your comments over on those social media pages. You can also leave us comments and messages through the both pound 250 feature, though I'll look further into that, make sure there aren't any extending issues with that. But also, in any case, the talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app is one of the easier ways you can do it. You'll be listening to us through the app anyway, so just hit that little red microphone button, leave your message for us, and we'll play it during the show. So, of course, we got the phone lines open as well. Again, a lot of ways you can do it. Pick whatever works best for you, but just remember the talkback has a little bit extra incentive for this week, because we are doing that along with the giveaway with Gentleman's Republic Barber Salon and Men's Spa. So if you want to call in during the show, full up at the moment, but the number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Let's get to more of those calls here right now. Though RJ saying a good comment there that I think responding to Kathy Codry about hiring armed security guards, and RJ saying, amen, I'm not seeing Delta or SEAL teachers on Indeed or ZipRecruiter. Yeah, that has a level of sense making to it. And also James Radcliffe commenting over there saying, I wouldn't just think that the Dems are thinking about taking guns away. Rhinos like Cornyn and Graham and Toomey are also betraying our Constitution and this nation, displaying his opinion there, of course, on those efforts that are going to, I think, continue going forward, because yeah, the notable thing about any of these efforts happening, particularly nationally, are going to be requirement of participation of, again, the magic number being 60. So in the current makeup of the Senate, 10 Republicans having to be able to sign on to anything to allow it to go forward at this point. So we'll see what happens there. Again, changing almost daily, but we'll keep our eye on it. But let's go back to those phone lines. We have Isaiah in the Northeastern line here right now. Isaiah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, this is Isaiah. I'm just saying, I know about, I feel bad for people getting killed, unarmed people. Think about it is that you also have a lot of people that get out of the military that have PTSD, and I wouldn't trust them with a gun. Some of them have bad attitudes, violent reactions to certain situations, And when I see one and on the street, and then he says, "Well, I was in Iraq." I'm not talking about World War II or Vietnam veteran, or I'm talking about or Korea. I'm talking about the ones that recently got out. I said, "You know what? I don't want to talk to you. I don't trust you. You might harm me." And that's the way I am with veterans. That you know that. And no, really, they shouldn't be allowed to carry. There should be a psychological test when they get out to see if they can purchase a firearm. And this is, I don't like to see them carrying it, because if they're going to be a danger to society, then they shouldn't have one. That's all I have to say, okay? And I do not like them, because a lot of them I don't like their attitudes. Have a great day, and I don't respect them, okay? Bye-bye.
Okay, sure thing. Thank you for the point in the call there. I will agree with you on one point there, the idea of more psychological testing for recent veterans, but that's the point after that you lose me, because A, there should be more services. The amount of veteran friends that I have of recent conflicts who have long lingering issues, that getting through to the VA is kind of like, it's not even just pulling teeth, it's being made to pull your own teeth, essentially, and then the rescheduling. So I would love to see there be more services for the veterans, but that is also one of the reasons there have been sticking points on this about there being, well, essentially mental health evaluations being included into these laws, because, well, given the state of services that you get from the federal agencies involved in this that are supposed to guarantee things for our veterans. I mean, they gave, oftentimes, sometimes their life, or at least their bodies, future livelihood, etc., in the service of our country, then being automatically removed from such lists, yeah, that's where you lose me in that level of reasoning. Again, you're entitled to your opinion on that. Sounds like maybe you need to broaden your horizons a little bit on who you know about this. One of the more important things that I've heard from people who have served in this, again, most recent generation, or I guess coming out now, of the global war on terror, is that we will not forget other veterans, as previous generations of veterans, particularly Vietnam, were forgotten here. So I'm going to disagree with you on that. Of course, entitled to your opinion, but don't think that that's a path I'm going to follow your logic down on. But I do feel that there is greater need for mental health services there, certainly. Again, the amount of people that I just personally know, and I believe have any exhaustive knowledge of those truly needing it in town. I'm sure there's plenty more that I don't know, but seriously, it's a deficiency that is happening in our country and with our government right now. And so to say that, therefore, because of that deficiency, they should have less rights here, that's a hell of a take, is all I'm going to say here right now. And James RJ saying, rather, veterans love you too. Really? I think they do. And James Radcliffe saying, I'm sure the feeling is mutual there. Let's get back to those phone lines here right now. Again, the number to call, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Yeah, a lot of people being, I was fully expect people to have some strong opinions on there. Monica Cervantes saying, my dad was a vet. He was very respected and stand-up man. May he rest in peace. And let's just say disagreeing with the previous caller there. You can see the comments for yourself over on Facebook.com/Talk El Paso and our other social media. The Facebook is the main one. That's where the Thunderdome of comments is definitely in place right now, and the Skeptic Squad in full force. But let's get back to those phone lines, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. We have Raul in the Northeast on the line with us here right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. One of your previous callers was talking about criminals and jailing criminals.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I saw the highest legal authority in the country, the Attorney General, the head of the Department of Justice, Merrick Garland, asked if he was watching the January 6th congressional hearings.
Mm-hmm.
And he answered yes, and that so are his prosecutors, and that anyone involved in this, from the very bottom to the very top, will be held accountable. I also heard Trump's former Attorney General, William Barr, testify that Trump's election claims showed him to be detached from reality, and that he told Trump to his face that they were BS. Barr also said that Trump showed no interest in actual facts. Now, what Barr said about Trump is behavior that, in my opinion, is mirrored by his supporters. They seem to be detached from reality and have no interest in actual facts. That's why a lot of them didn't even want to watch the hearings, okay? There'll be some truth there. There were some facts there. There were witnesses there, all Republicans, high level, like the Attorney General. One of the following hearings is going to deal with Trump's dereliction and desertion of duty by doing nothing for 3 hours while his staffers and GOP leaders were asking him to call off his mob. Andrew, how do you spin and absolve or exonerate Trump from that behavior?
Okay, let's just make one thing perfectly clear there. I am, of course, very in favor of an actual investigation into this, as I feel like I've said a bunch of times here. But your base assumption that everything about the president, every character aspect, everything put into it of the former president, let's flip that around here. Do you feel that way about the current president, that you sign on with everything? And I do mean everything the way you're putting it here with the current president. Is there just literally no disagreement or even character personality trait that you don't like about the current president?
No. In fact, I didn't want him for my president. And if he decides not to run, I'm perfectly fine with it. There's a lot of things that he's done. I don't idolize. He's not my messiah like he is, like Trump is to many of his followers. I don't think he was the chosen one. I don't think he knows more about everything than everybody like Trump claims he is. I don't think he's a stable genius like Trump said he is.
Okay, so again, going through a nice review of your opinion of the former president and his character traits here, but let's just take that same logic about not signing on to everything. Again, the logic seems to come down to, and this is from both sides, well, let me point out the foibles of your elected official, and therefore you have to agree with me. That does not bear out. There are many other reasons that we've even had other people elaborate on this program, both in calls and from other guests, saying that, sure, I had my issues, but on the balance supported the overall trajectory of that previous administration. So, I mean, there are a few out there that have said, yeah, January 6th was bad, or even some saying, well, I have issues with the way it's being gone through now. But the idea that everyone, even everyone that even voted for the former president, was therefore signing on with everything about him, that doesn't bear out in any other way we're talking about here. So to say that, well, I see character flaws in the former president, so I'm going to ascribe those to literally everyone who voted for him, that's literally a logical fallacy. That's almost beyond ad hominem. That's like a ad everyone hominem. I don't know my Latin that well, so couldn't come up with a pithy phrase on that. But seriously, if you're considering that as a justification for judging everyone who went with him, that doesn't follow. That doesn't work out. So yeah, fully in favor again of those investigations, and not interested in spinning anything the former president did. But when you start attacking his followers as, well, you voted for the guy, therefore you must like everything he's done, literally does not work here. All right, let's take that next break, right? Thank you for the point in the call, as much as it's worth. Anyway, we got to take that next call right now. Coming out of this break, we'll get to more calls, more comments, more of the discussion about otherwise the things that affect us here in El Paso, which I guess voting does, though we're starting to stretch that definition ever here just a little bit. But I mean, seriously, stop putting me in a position where I have to defend the former president, because I don't like defending any politician, letting them stand on their own merits here. But oh boy. Anyway, we got to take that next break right now. So back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, the number to call if you want to chime in, which is definitely an important part of the program, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more. Stay tuned.
Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 News Update. The man accused of murdering a woman outside of Cynthia's Cantina in Socorro had several inconsistencies during his interrogation. That's according to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. 41-year-old Ronald Adrian Blacksmith has been arrested for the death of 41-year-old Cynthia Alvarez on Friday. Blacksmith told officers at the scene that it was all a dream and that he should have gone home. The number of heat-related medical calls the El Paso Fire Department received this year has nearly doubled compared to last year. From May 1 to date, the El Paso Fire Department says they've received 40 medical calls related to the heat. During that same time period last year, that number was 19. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Joe Battle Boulevard northbound at Zaragoza. A crash there with injuries is blocking the right lane. Stay to the left. It's slowing traffic. Expect a backup. Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Hawkins. Still 2 center lanes there blocked by a tractor trailer. I-10 eastbound still slow with 10-minute delays between Vinton and Trans Mountain. And an injury accident Edgemere Boulevard west of Yarborough at Limerick. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
After unseasonably hot weather, our temperatures will finally fall closer to seasonal values. Mostly clear and quiet conditions will continue overnight with temperatures in the middle 70s by tomorrow morning. Coming up tonight, we'll talk about a cooling trend as we head into the weekend. Plus, I'm tracking an increase in rain and storm chances. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kira Miner.
This report is sponsored by the Truth with Lisa Booth podcast.
1 in 5 Gen Z adults identify as LGBT now. What's up with that? We're going to talk to the one and only, the nationally syndicated radio host, Jesse Kelly. All that and more on The Truth with Lisa Booth. You get the show every Monday and Thursday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today. For good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
If you're 45 or older, this message could save your life. Health experts now recommend starting regular colorectal cancer screening at age 45. Colorectal cancer is a leading cause of cancer death, but it's preventable through regular screening. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. You've got the guts to prevent colorectal cancer. Talk to your doctor about your options and visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
Spoil Dad with a Father's Day at Lowe's, where you'll find his favorite treats like a Craftsman 20-volt drill kit. Was $79, now $69. There's nothing sweeter than Father's Day at Lowe's. Home to any budget, home to any possibility, while supplies last, valid 6/9 to 6/15. This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
So I'm a dog, and I just got adopted by this new human guy, and I'm starting to wonder how he got along without me. I mean, okay, something as simple as walking around the block. He's got this leash thing, and he puts me on one end and him on the other, and I'm just taking him around. I think he's afraid of getting lost. Without that leash and me guiding him along, I don't think he'd find his way back home. But it's kind of cute.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
You need to know what's going on.
News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media outlets we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, and all those places. You can also leave your comments, which is one of the more useful aspects of them. Ion Grimm urging me not to waste my breath, but, well, it's what I get paid for. So don't worry about me in those cases. But even if I'm never particularly expecting to convince anyone, but as long as we're willing to discuss it here, well, if anyone gets at least more enlightened, educated, aware of the issues, I'll count it as a win here. So that's why I find it useful to, well, maybe not exactly tread such well-worn ground, but get to new points as much as possible so that people can at least be aware of what the discussion is. I know that may seem a little roundabout way to saying that, yes, we'll keep doing it, but I guess, well, I've been arguing ever since I could talk, according to my parents, so I guess I'll keep doing it anyway. Catherine Codry saying also as well that policies matter and 8.6 inflation, percent inflation, but feels like 20%. Yeah, the pump has not been a fun place for me lately. The amount of posts I've been seeing people do about, yeah, I got robbed at the pump here. The criminal was, of course, number 3 pump. Yeah, that's I've been feeling that here. So a lot more commentary going on there. So if you're wanting to chime in over there, a lot of comments coming in. But let's go back to those phone lines right now. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Andrew on the west side here with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you, and good afternoon.
Afternoon there. What's on your mind?
Yes, one of your callers was talking about taking assault weapons off the street. Okay, What is an assault weapon? It is subjective.
Yeah, we've talked about this a little bit before, but ultimately, most of the definitions, I mean, strictly speaking, militarily, there is a definition involving an intermediate caliber weapon with a detachable box magazine, but also fully automatic in between that of a battle rifle and a submachine gun. But that's never what the ending up written into law definition is. It often focuses on both semi-automatic as core, sure, but then often on cosmetic features, which is just, well, baffling until you consider what it looks like and how quote-unquote scary it may seem.
Yes. Okay. Goes to prove that these lawmakers know nothing about what they're talking about.
The shoulder thing
Now,
that goes up. Yep.
The famous Tucker Carlson interview.
Mhm.
Yes. Now, if they're going to if he is advocating taking assault weapons off the street, how are you going to enforce it? Back in 2013, James Baker, not the televangelist, but James Baker, asked Biden about enforcing the law on falsifications on the 4473 form. Then Vice President Biden, you know what his response was?
Not familiar in this case, but I'm sure you'll be able to tell us.
Definitely. Well, he said, government does not have the time nor the manpower to prosecute people that lie on those forms. Maybe that gave Hunter Biden the incentive to lie on his form.
Yeah, the idea of, I mean, I always read the form very carefully whenever I'm on the line there with it, because I'm always worried that the question is changed in such a way that I'll get the answer wrong. But yeah, let's just say misrepresenting or lying on a federal form is, well, pretty immediately a felony.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay, now, as to your other caller talking about teachers not wanting to be armed, well, that's fine. The Marshall program is a voluntary program. It's not just to Texas teachers. Anybody that's employed by the school district can participate in it. And I pose this to all your callers out there. If it saves one child, isn't it worth it? We have teachers that are having to be lunch monitors and recreational monitors on the school ground to protect our kids from bullying and other aggressive conduct by their fellow students.
Yeah, so let me just clarify my position on that here, because yeah, the availability of such programs and the ability and the funding availability coming from districts, because some of these programs have some inlaid cost, the time it takes for training, et cetera, and even like reimbursements for them equipping themselves, because having them required to be spending more out of the very much at issue teacher salaries seems like a bad plan. But all of that should be available. But if it stops there, if it doesn't then continue on with districts and, well, we'll really ultimately legislature saying, and here is what we are going to provide to districts to make this feasible. If that doesn't happen, and the onus is essentially put on the teachers of, well, yes, you have to be able to teach the children, prevent them from having bullying, equipping your classrooms, paying for your own supplies, and also being armed security. If that's where it stops and there's not actually, and we will provide armed security, missing that step, I'm going to have issues with only relying on the previous one.
Well, like I said, it's voluntary, and local police academies. You have regional police academies that have funding, and therefore they're provided grants, and therefore they tailor the training according to TCOL. Now, your other caller talking about vets, let me tell you guys out there, if it weren't for vets, we wouldn't be able to have programs like this and the freedoms we enjoy. And yes, there are veterans that need assistance. There are veterans that have mental health issues. But doggone it, we spend more on undocumented immigrants, aliens illegally in this country, than we do for our vets. Okay, right now that seems to be the trend. Now, my last point, reference Comrade Raul. He seems to contradict himself when he tries to lump all Trump voters in one pot. When he just got through saying that Bob Barr was the one that told Trump that his statements were BS concerning the election, and other people in his cabinet, are totally against what was happening. I in no way am in favor of these people that stormed the Capitol. I detest lawbreakers.
Mhm.
And I hope the responsible parties listen, Raul. I hope the responsible parties are brought to justice under whichever administration it is. Well, I'm sure Merrick Garland will go out of his way to prosecute these people, and yeah, they deserve to be prosecuted for breaking the law.
Yeah, there's more than a little bit, obviously, of example making that's been happening there, and whether that's out of line here, it may be a little bit over my head, but you can, of course, come to your own conclusion about it. But yeah, therefore saying that, I mean, it doesn't hold up in any other way of reasoning that because you are willing to support a certain administration or part of it, therefore you sign on to everything the administration does. At the very least, I've never found an administration in any level, federal, state, local, that have been like, yes, 100%, they can do no wrong. Yes, I will go to the wall for them. Like, no, that's not how this works. You pick and choose. And yes, we have to choose our representatives and our elected officials, but we also can then make further choices, but we only get that one, on average every 4 years.
Yes, agreed. And like I said before, read my lips, guys. We need to enforce the laws that are on the books, punish these criminals. Look what's happening in San Francisco. Chesa Bodine, no relation to Jethro Bodine, was just recalled from his position as district attorney. And I have the feeling George Gascon in L.A. County is going to be he's going to be recalled by the voters pretty soon.
Potentially here. I mean, a little bit outside of our scope usually, but these national things and how they're going, particularly when it comes to, I think that we're in a little bit, just because a previous caller brought it up as well, this, lack of prosecutions or pretrial releases here. I mean, I know there was somewhat of a trend of this, but also they're coming out of the pandemic and people, wanting to have less in facilities. I got to wonder what's going to be the medium to long-term move on that, frankly, because if this just keeps going the way it is without some other significant reform, I see issues.
Right. One last thing, and I turn the mic back over to you. Hey, guys out there, to all of you that served, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your service. I appreciate you.
Absolutely here, and fully agree with you on that point here. So thank you for the point in the call. You have a good one.
Take care.
I mean, yeah, that's the saying that I hate more. Okay, maybe that's putting words in the mouth. I don't get along with recent veterans. That's a hell of a take, and one that I'm not going to follow along with here, because yeah, at the very least, the people I know, sure, there are plenty that have some impacts physically, mentally, somewhere in between from their service, but to say therefore they're bad people because of that just doesn't add up to me. All right, trying to get to at least one more call here before we hit that next break. We do have Jerry in Northwest on the line here with us right now. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew, for taking my call. Andrew, what's the definition of a right, like in the right underneath the Bill of Rights?
Those being provided to us by our creator and therefore further enshrined in law, but not provided by the document, otherwise something that is inherent to our being.
Okay, that's correct. So why do other people think that they can decide what rights we have when they call in and say that nobody has a right to a weapon that can create destruction, and they call it a certain assault weapon or whatever? That's not how it's written in the Constitution.
Correct. And of course, as has been brought up, recent other Supreme Court decisions, or even much previous one, I want to say it was Miller, we talked about yesterday, if I'm not mistaken here. I mean, there are tempering, there are no unlimited rights, but unreasonable restrictions on them tend not to bear out in the long run.
Yes. So whenever somebody talks about taking away assault weapons, they don't know what the law means or what it says. They don't know what the Supreme Court has ruled on any of these decisions, because they're wrong. We have rights to bear arms so that we can prevent other governments or even our own government from going past the legal responsibilities they have in the Constitution and becoming dictatorships. Would they agree that if President Trump decided that he wanted to take all weapons away, would they agree with that? I doubt it.
Yeah, I'm sure there'd be some quibbling about, well, he's not doing it the right way, just because that's how often these debates ended up coming down. But I mean, again, it comes down to, I think, frankly, a common misunderstanding about the nature of the Constitution itself. The Constitution does not grant us any rights. Literally, it ensures certain enumerated ones, but otherwise, the enumeration within the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, literally, 9th and 10th Amendments here, people, is not a limit on what is therefore guaranteed, though it often is not read that way, unfortunately.
That's correct. And whenever people come up and they discuss this, they don't understand that the government that gives you rights is also the government that can take away your rights.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I've heard that more discussed in terms of licenses and such, but yeah, it also applies here.
Exactly. And as for Raul, you are so predictable. I can just read your mind every day. It gets to be funny sometimes, but you do make me laugh. Thank you, Raul. Have a good one.
All right.
Andrew.
Sure thing.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for the point in the call there as well. You have a good one. All right, we got to take that next break right now. We got a couple more calls on the line. We'll squeeze in what we can coming out of this break, including some of those calls that we've had recorded on there and talking more about what we got coming up for you on the show. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this brief break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. We got one more segment to go, so stay tuned for more here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Back in a minute.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Lots of crashes on your El Paso freeways. The exit's blocked on Border Highway eastbound at Yarborough. The Yarborough exit there is blocked because of a multi-vehicle crash. Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Hawkins. 2 center lanes blocked from a tractor trailer. Accidents blocking the right lane. Joe Battle Boulevard northbound at Zaragoza. And I-10 eastbound at the Zaragoza exit ramp blocked because of a crash. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's Breakfast Baconator. Don't let breakfast be boring when it could be better. Wendy's Breakfast Baconator will have you feeling sunny side up all day long. Wake up to fresh cracked eggs, savory sausage, and oven-baked bacon, of course. Order it and start looking forward to tomorrow morning at participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours only.
New on Curiosity Stream.
Just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean you can't.
Watch Earth's greatest minds forge our path to a better tomorrow. It's engineering the future. And Jaws, Star Wars, The Godfather, E.T. The biggest movies have even bigger music, from King Kong to The Dark Knight. See how musicians scored Hollywood's greatest hits on great film composers' music of the movies. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit Curiosity Stream.
Hey, it's Maura Courtney Lopez, and we know life is better together.
Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to make life's moments amazing.
We are all getting together more, and Smart Mouth's 24-hour power of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day keeps us from worrying about bad breath in those up-close moments.
Go to smartmouth.com/radio to save 20% or find Smart Mouth at your favorite store to give you confidence as we get closer to each other.
Remember to make life's moments better together with Smart Mouth at smartmouth.com/radio.
How many of you have pets? My hand's raised. Now think about how lucky you are to have such a sweet little pet in your life, and that pet is lucky to have you too. But unfortunately, there are countless pets out there that don't have a home to call their own. However, Bob's from Skechers is trying to change that. So we developed Bob's for dogs and cats to help pets in need. With every purchase of adorable Bob's footwear or fun, stylish apparel, or even the cutest Bob's pet accessories, Skechers makes a donation to Petco Love to help save shelter pets. And with your help, we've already saved the lives of over 1 million pets and donated over $7 million. So while you're getting style and comfort with features like Skechers' famous memory foam cushioning, you're also helping to save an adorable pet in need and helping another lucky owner be connected with a future best friend and companion, because happiness is having a loving pet by your side. Find Bob's at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, select Petco locations, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
M1EP.com. Superior multifamily property management services citywide.
Weather and traffic info. You need it? We have it. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed. News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk, rounding the bend on the last segment of the last hour of the show for today, but don't worry, we'll be back with you tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, as we are every day of the week, as I just mentioned. Tomorrow we'll be joined by Estefania Seifert, talking more about local investigative reporting and such here, probably getting to some of these issues we even mentioned today on the local side of things. But, of course, stay tuned for that, as well as more we're working on supply chain issues very much dominating, like, the back of my head. I have an apartment building in the back of my head, how much stuff lives rent-free there, and I'm making a killing if I could figure out how to charge the little buggers. But in any case, we'll talk more about this and more issues going on in the region here. But let's get to those last couple of calls here. I do have one of those pound 250 calls. I know someone's having issues with it. Got to recommend the Talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app. But if you want to leave us a message over on pound 250, just dial that on your cell phone, pound 250, say the keyword Talk El Paso when prompted, and you can leave us a message like this.
This is Messiah Frankie. I just want to say, number one, there goes Befuddled Ben. Mumble, 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 mumble. I don't even know what the heck he's saying. Number two, the J6 committee has proven that this Donnie Dotard is lacking the reality, which also translates out to all the supporters, which don't realize reality. What do you think of that, all you conservatives out there? You Donnie Dotard loving morons.
Again, some of the conversation about people signing on to everything about an elected official, it just doesn't really hold up for me. I have literally never done that with any elected official I have deigned to cast my ballot for. And describing that to anyone else saying, oh, you must, if you are supporting this guy, you must love everything he does. No, simply put, but we'll talk more about that here. Let's get at least one more call on the line here. We do have Marky Mandingo calling in here. Marky, thanks for joining us.
Hey, hello, Mr. Andrew. How you doing?
Doing right there. What's on your mind?
Fine. I just wanted to clarify some things for Sir Raul and any other liberals who are listening to the show. Probably not, but a fully automatic gun, first of all, cannot get in the hands of one of these young people who are doing these crimes. Mr. Tillman, or Jerome Tillman, I call him Major, we went to Sportsman's Elite. You can rent a fully automatic gun. They have them. Those guns were sold pre-1984. Ronald Reagan, I think that he was the president at that time, they banned them. They're very hard to control. And you can get some in El Paso. I've contacted some people lately. They run between $5,000 to $10,000. But again, they're very, very, you have to be in the Army or someone who's been trained like Major was on how to shoot them. Because when we went there, I couldn't even get a good beat at even 50 meters. It was, very, very hard to control. So I want to let people know, when you hear on the news and they say, oh, it shoots so many rounds per second. No, they don't. And if you have a kid or one of these younger people shooting them, they don't have the accuracy or the acumen on firearms to be able to shoot that many per second. It's virtually impossible. Now, you can get an AR-15 or an AK-47 made fully automatic, but you don't want to get caught with it, and it'll cost you. Here in El Paso, there's a few gunsmiths who can do it, and they'll charge you about $2,500. But why would you want that? I mean, unless you want to kill a bunch of people, because you're not going to take one out and go deer hunting. You destroy the deer meat if you actually were able to get a beat on the animal. But I just wanted to share that with everybody to say that, no, they don't shoot many, many, many rounds per second. They don't even shoot many, many rounds per minute. And so I just wanted to clarify, because the other day we were talking, some people and I were conversing on your Facebook.
Yeah.
And yeah, 5.56 and a 2.23 are very, very similar, pretty much the same size. 2.23 is just a tiny bit bigger than a 22, but they can do a lot of damage, no doubt.
I mean, yeah, there are specific military purposes. Often when we're talking about fully automatic fire, we're talking about fire suppression because, yeah, particularly with recoil, unless you're on a crew service wagon, practically, you're not going to have that much of a good time with it here. But tell you what, let's get into that and more in future shows. I do thank you for the point in the call. We're just out of time here for this program. So we're going to do it again tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m., as we do here Monday through Friday, right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you, everyone who tuned in, called in, comment, participated in the show. Really, that's what helps make this show what it is. So we'll see you all tomorrow. Stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles. And have a great evening, y'all.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Lots of crashes on your El Paso freeways. The exit's blocked on Border Highway eastbound at Yarborough. The Yarborough exit there is blocked because of a multi-vehicle crash. Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Hawkins. 2 center lanes blocked from a tractor trailer. Accidents blocking the right lane. Joe Battle Boulevard northbound at Zaragoza. And I-10 eastbound at the Zaragoza exit ramp blocked because of a crash. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Come celebrate the magic behind women-owned businesses at the 18th Annual International Women's Business Symposium, Dancing Backwards in High Heels. Hear from the women leading the charge in the business world. Recognize women entrepreneurs for their success. Get a free professional headshot provided by New American Funding. And stop by the Dior and Foliage Day Spa Beauty Corner. Breakfast, lunch, and closing reception are included. So be sure to join us on Thursday, June 23rd at the Hotel Paso del Norte for an exceptional in-person experience. Tickets by calling 566-4066.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link at kcsmradio.com. News on the hour and the half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Voters are taking to the polls today in 4 states for primary day. In South Carolina, Congressman Tom Rice, who voted to impeach former President Trump in connection to the January 6th Capitol riot, will face a challenger who's been backed by the former president. Nevada, North Dakota, and Maine will also hold their primary elections. Meantime, a new poll is suggesting midterm election trends don't look great for Democrats. Lisa Taylor has more.
With less than 5 months to go, data from Gallup finds just over 40% of Americans approve of the job President Joe Biden is doing. Less than 20% approve of what Congress is doing. Both of those are about 10 points lower than historical averages at past midterm elections, which could mean a loss of Democrats' congressional majority.